Hello fellow coffee botherers, in this video we're going to be talking about this, the Melitta TS Smart automatic bean to cup coffee machine. Melitta have sent this to me on loan so I can review it, but it's just on loan, and I'm not been paid for this review, just to be clear. I've been asked to review this quite a few times. It's a fairly unique bean to cup machine, mainly due to the dual hopper, which I think is one of the main reasons people are interested in it. But is it actually any good? Let's find out, starting with the specs. Dual bean hoppers, 5 grind settings, 1.8 litre water tank, cappuccino torre milk frother, 1 litre milk carafe, Bluetooth app control, 4 customisable one-touch options on the screen and another 14 via the app, 8 user profiles, dredge row capacity of 16 used pucks, max cup height 14.5 centimetres, Aqua Pura water filter. So in a nutshell, this is a fully automatic known across a pond as a super automatic bean to cup machine with Bluetooth app control, 8 user profiles and dual hoppers. You have questions about it? Okay, let's answer them. What were my first impressions? This is a well-built machine that I think looks and feels really decent quality. Yes, it's mainly plastic, but it all feels really good quality and solidly built. There's good attention to detail. The water tank, for example, feels really durable and the handle feels really sturdy. It's not really cheap, but it doesn't look or feel really cheap either. Actually, this is one of the best automatic bean to cup machines I've seen for this kind of price point, purely talking about look and feel. How much is it? Currently retails in the UK at £899.98. And just to point out, this is the latest version at the time of filming. So if you find other models that are significantly cheaper, they may be older models. Do the dual hoppers work well? They do, as long as you always want to use 2 separate hoppers, but I think Melitta are missing a trick here by not making this optional in the settings. This is basically one hopper split in half, feeding one grinder. In earlier versions of these machines, this feature seemed pointless to me, because there was no way to deal with the retained grinds and the beans sitting on top of the burrs. So you're always going to end up with coffees made with a mix of beans. In the latest version though, they've dealt with that by having the grinder run for longer than it needs to. And yes, that does mean that it takes a bit longer than it should, but at least you know you're always going to be drinking coffee made with only the beans you've selected. So if you want to run 2 different kinds of beans, this is great, it works. But if you only want to do this occasionally and the rest of the time you want to use it like a normal hopper, you might find it gets quite annoying as you can't choose to turn off the separate hoppers and treat it like a single hopper. And it means they're both quite small, so you might find yourself shouting at your machine, just use the other chuff inside, that side's full and it's the same sodding beans. But the machine doesn't know that. If you could go into the settings and turn off split hoppers, fill both sides with the same beans and use it like a standard bean to cup machine, this option I think would please a lot of users. What's the app like? The app interface is way better than the machine interface, and I actually really like the app, with a couple of exceptions. I wouldn't even bother to use the controls on the screen. You can just click on recipes, pick the coffee you fancy and click preparation to start brewing. There are loads of recipes in the app too, just about everything you could think of. You can also edit the settings including which side of the hopper to use, the number of shots from 1 to 3, coffee strength and brew temperature and milk volume for milkies, and you can save these settings in your chosen profile for next time and just click preparation to start brewing. You can create your own coffees too in freestyle mode. Well, so in freestyle, it asks you to add a component. You can add coffee, milk froth, hot water or hot milk. So if you wanted to, you could add hot water and add hot milk to it for a watery hot milk.
So you could just make like a white coffee or a white tea.
So let's do that then. Let's do coffee and then let's add hot milk. What is the name of the recipe? It'll do coffee Kev without a space. So yeah, let's do that. I just want a coffee. Just a coffee. You can really easily set up and edit profiles. Add your favourite coffees to the home screen of the app, and you can do maintenance stuff in the app, including changing which side the milk connector attached to, start cleaning cycles and descaling and various other stuff. My only criticism with the app, as with most other connected coffee machines I'm aware of, is you can't turn it on from the app. So in theory, you could order your coffee from your bed, but you can't because you'd have to walk up to the machine and press the on button. Having said that, being able to turn the machine on from the app is probably pointless until there's an app that will take your cup out of the cupboard and put it on the drip tray, get the milk out of the fridge and so on. What's the actual machine interface like? Not brilliant. Simply pressing the one-touch direct keys on the menu to start brewing is absolutely fine, and you can change all of these to your favourite recipe for each one, which is great. In fact, I'd go as far as to say this is one of the most clumsy machine interfaces I've used, but one of the best apps. Strength. Strong, obviously. But each time you've selected something, it takes you back up to the top again when you're trying to edit the recipes.
That's annoying.
Yeah. So if you're okay with using apps, no problem. You don't need to use the interface much at all. If you're someone who prefers to do everything on your machine, maybe you don't always have your phone with you and you don't want to use an app, this might not be the best machine for you. How loud is it? Coffee. Milk. How does a coffee taste? This will depend on the beans you're using, of course, and the recipe you choose, but as far as fully automatic bean-to-cup machines go, talking purely about espresso and black coffee, cafe crema, americano and so on, I'm really quite impressed with this. Yeah, pretty much like a standard bean-to-cup machine espresso. When it comes to espresso, just keep in mind that the preset grind setting it comes with, that has a sticker on it recommending that you don't change that for the first 100 coffees, will be fairly coarse and the TDS and extraction percentage will be on the lower side. Personally, for cafe crema, I'd leave the grinder setting where it is. For espresso though, I'd usually crank auto bean-to-cup machines to the finest setting. And for me, the espresso I've tasted on this at the finest grind setting has been better than at the preset grind size. Speaking of coffee beans, let's have a word from our sponsor, me. My coffee from seaworks.co.uk is freshly roasted. Usually you'll find the roasted on date and the dispatch date are the same, and it's ace. Yes, I would say that, I want you to buy it, fair enough, but I'll put my money where my mouth is. Use the discount code YT25 for 25% off your first order. Also, if you don't like it, you don't have to buy it ever again. What a great deal. What's the coffee temperature like? Good, usually around 70 to 80 degrees Celsius. I've had no complaints at all about the coffee temperature. It's important to point out this is the output temperature, so obviously the water going into the group from the pump will be hotter than that. What's the milk temperature like? What's the milk texture like? It's all pretty much the same. It's quite decent microfoam actually, but it's really stiff, so I wouldn't describe it as 90s cappuccino foam. It is silky, but it's just very stiff. It'd be interesting to see if it, although to be fair, that's not that bad now I've knocked the mammoth bubbles away. Not bad. Whether you choose latte, cappuccino or flat white, what you're getting is about the same. Silky but stiff milk foam. What do I like about it? I really appreciate the way it looks and feels. I like the split hopper, but I think they should make it optional in the settings so you can choose to use it as a standard hopper. I love the app, probably the best auto bean-to-cup coffee machine app I've used. I like the fact that you can fit the milk carafe on either side of the machine and that you can just put the pipe in your milk bottle or carton if you prefer. I love the way you can reprogram these shortcut drink buttons on the interface and on the app home screen. What don't I like about it? I don't like the machine user interface. I think it's really frustrating and clumsy. I like the app, as I've said. I much prefer it to the machine interface. But what I don't like about it is that, as with all connected coffee machines, you have to be in the same room as them to use the app. You have to turn the machine on via the machine. You can't wake the machine up from the app. And even if you could, as you can with the DeLonghi Melitta Explore, for example, it can't take a cup out of the cupboard for you. In theory, you could put a cup on the drip tray in advance, if you could turn it on from the app, but the water from the auto rinse, as it turns on, would end up in the cup too, so that wouldn't work either. So apps for coffee machines aren't all that useful, and I'd prefer this if all the good stuff from the app was actually on the machine interface. The milk texture, although I like the consistency, it's really smooth and silky, it's just all really stiff. Also, one thing I've not mentioned yet is cancelling drinks. If you start a drink by mistake when you were trying to edit it, which is very easily done by the way, I've done it a few times, even if you literally cancel it instantly, it still grinds the dose and puts a small amount of water through the puck and then ejects it into the dreg drawer. Stop! Stop! It says stop, it hasn't. You're lying.
What am I lying for?
Stop! It's not even kicked it out, it's still stuck. So, let's wet the puck. I don't understand that. If a press cancel literally straight away before it starts grinding, surely it should be cancelled before it starts grinding. Very odd.
Travelling Hamburger 6093 asked a question on the Sage Dual Boiler Part 2 making coffee video. What's the scale you're using, Kev?
It's this one. The Time Warp Black Mirror Nano.
Any good?
Yeah, it's alright. Thank you very much for watching, and if you think coffee is and you enjoyed this video, please drop us a like on the video as it really helps. We've got tons of content about how to make better coffee at home to take you from beginner to home barista. We've got reviews and how-tos on the most popular machines. If you like the sound of that, click on my face to subscribe. Tatty bye!